Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Time to bring some focus to your favorite and not so favorite geeky films. Cam here and welcome back to Cam in Focus. Now before we get started, be sure to subscribe to Geek News Now and follow us on social media to keep up with all of our content. As always, we've still got promotions going on from metallicdicegames.com and rippedapparel.com. Do you enjoy tabletop gaming and want to bring out some dice that'll make your geeky friends swoon? Go to metallicdicegames.com and use the code GNN at checkout for 10% off. And if you enjoy graphic tees, visit rippedapparel.com and use the code GNN10, that's GNN10 for 10% off their products. Here we go. So if you saw a couple of weeks ago, I kinda went in on the Artemis Fowl film. If you haven't had the chance to catch that, I'll leave a link to it below. This time around, I'm going to list off all the story liberties, that I can think of at least, that the writers for this film took to deviate from the source material. This time, I'll be keeping the editing to a minimum. This is just going to be me ranting for a while. Now please note that there will be some details that I leave out regarding the character of Artemis Fowl Jr., and that's because I cover him in great detail in part 1 of this 2-part video. So be sure to check it out if you haven't. Alright, so first of all, they changed the criminal profession of Artemis Fowl Sr. He went from being basically a mafia boss in the books to an art thief in the movie. Yeah, because I guess stealing art is an area of expertise that Disney is quite familiar with. In the books, he's a notorious crime lord who is feared and respected across the world until he's captured by the Russian mafia when his ship, the Fowl Star, is ambushed in the Arctic. In the film though, he's abducted by the fairy villain Opal Cowboy, who, I might add, isn't even introduced until the second book. Well, at least he was still taken off a boat. They didn't even keep the name of the boat the same. The Owl Star? Are you kidding me? What was the purpose of such a stupid name change? Oh, I get it, because owl rhymes with fowl, and they're both birds, so I guess it makes sense. Clever, Disney. Really freaking clever. Not to mention, in the books, Artemis Fowl Sr. doesn't know about the fairies. But in the film, he's in freaking cahoots with one and tells his son bedtime stories about them to prepare him for a war? Or something? I don't fucking know, it makes no sense. Speaking of being in cahoots with a fairy, the MacGuffin that Artie Sr. has is called the Aculos? Aculos? What? What is it exactly? What does it do? Who freaking knows? It's supposedly some kind of powerful weapon of some sort. But my question is, did they pull that silly object out of the deepest recesses of their butts to replace the Book of the People? I mean, they both kind of do the same thing in a way, containing the knowledge of the fairy race, but come on. Every single fairy is supposed to carry their book on their person at all times. That's such a huge part of their lore and history that by removing it, you've effectively changed the entire historical identity of the fairies. And this book, I might add, is how Artemis Fowl Jr. confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that the fairies existed and how he could exploit them. Not here, though. In the movie, he has everything handed to him on a silver platter rather than doing the work himself like he does in the book. He's supposed to be ambitious, persistent, and above all, a genius. Hell with that character detail, let's just make him a whiny kid with daddy issues. Oh, and who gave Artie Sr. the Aculos? Why, Holly Short's father, of course, who doesn't really play much of a role in the books. Sure, Disney, just make him a traitor for your story, you fucking heathens. Speaking of Holly, in the books, she's the first and only female LEP recon officer. So there's pressure on her to prove herself to her commanding officers and comrades as well as herself. She's headstrong but sometimes doubts herself, which makes her an interesting and complex character. But in the film, she's not the first or only female officer. Her entire role is trying to prove her father's innocence? Oh, come on, dude. Even by my standards, that's absurd. Not only that, and I hate to analyze superficially, but Holly is described in the book as having dark, chestnut-colored skin, hazel eyes, and cropped red hair. Yeah, I can see why they slipped up there. And nothing about this actress or her portrayal of the character screams soldier or officer, whereas in the book she's not only a leader but a strategist, a formidable combatant, a soldier among soldiers. Nice job, movie. Way to start up that motif of girl power that you tried to follow up on with another shitty female protagonist. Speaking of characters whose stories got crapped on, Butler. Now, I don't care that they changed his race or eye color or whatever, but he is called Butler, not Dom. Yes, his name is Domovoy, but first of all, in the books, he's instructed by the leader of the academy he was trained at to never reveal his first name to anyone to avoid attachment. He only reveals it to Artemis when he's literally taking his last breaths in the 3rd book. But in the film, he's Dom. Just Dom. Oh, and Juliet? Yeah, she's not his niece like she is in the film. She's his sister. Why change that particular plot point? Who the fuck knows? Okay, let's see what else here. Oh yeah. Mulch isn't supposed to be a large dwarf either like he is in the movie. He's just a dwarf. He also escaped Fowl Manor at the end of the 1st book instead of being picked up by MI6 so that he could be rescued at the end of the film. Speaking of which, why the hell is he narrating? Why isn't he funny like he is in the book? And why does he talk like a failed Batman audition? Now, I don't necessarily care that they also turned Commander Root into a woman, but for God's sake, Judi Dench, what are you doing? How do you sleep at night knowing that you got paid to spout lines like,
top of the morning?
Get it? 'Cause we're in Ireland! Commander Root is a burly, perpetually angry ferryman, but in the film, he/she is just another officer. Obviously one with rank, but just another officer, nothing special or distinct whatsoever. Let's see. Oh, the time freeze. In the book, Artemis Fowl uses his genius to figure out how to escape it before the fairies use a biobomb on his house. In the film, Butler destroys it with an arrow. Are you serious? Ugh. How do you take one of the main points of tension from the books and reduce it to just a throwaway balloon that gets poked by a pin? Oh, and can we talk about Artie Jr.'s mother for a second? In the film, she's dead because, you know, Disney can't figure out how to write a kid's film without a dead parent. But in the books, she's very much alive but mentally unstable due to Artie Sr.'s disappearance. At the end of the book, Holly uses her magic to heal her mind, which kickstarts Artemis's ascendance to moral enlightenment, as well as make Artemis indebted to Holly. But forget that little important frickin' story, right? And let's talk a second about the fairy ritual. The entire reason Artemis was able to catch Holly in the book was because her magic was depleted, because she had been procrastinating doing the ritual to regain it. So she had to go perform the ritual on sacred ground. That became another point of tension in the book, that Holly was unable to use her powers for a good portion of it. But in the movie, not only is the ritual not even mentioned, but Holly's powers are being suppressed by the police force? And she just arbitrarily gets it back by the end of the movie just in the nick of time, right? Ugh. And lastly, the ending. At the end of the book, Artemis Fowl gets his ransom gold, which was his entire reason for exploiting the fairies in the first place. The motto he and his father lived by was Aurum est potestas, or gold is power. His mother's health is restored, he escapes the fairies' biobomb undetected, sort of, and he continues his escapades, but in the movie, Holly uses the damn Aculos to teleport Artemis' father back, to which Opal Cowboy does a nice little Darth Vader. They all break Mulch out of MI6 and everyone lived happily ever fucking after. Come on! Okay, I'm done. Now that this is over, I'm never touching this film again. And as far as I'm concerned, Kenneth Branagh, the director, in case you don't know who that is, that's this guy, should perfect his memory charms to make me forget this movie exists. This has been Cam in Focus, proud to be part of the Geek News Now network. Be sure to subscribe to keep up with our content, and have an awesome day.